They said Tom's Cog was where bad cops were sent. A dead town in the middle of nowhere. But what they never told him was why. Why people stopped asking questions when they learned strange things happened there. Why reports were never signed. And why the town symbol was a blue sunflower, something that should not exist in real life. Before continuing this story, please subscribe to this channel and watch other suspenseful stories. He never wanted to become a police officer. When he was younger, he tried to imagine other futures. Maybe he could study something different, work in an office, or live quietly without carrying a badge. But no matter what he chose, he always ended up circling back to the same thing. Law, order, responsibility. The role of a person who steps in when people fight, when things get messy, when someone needs to be stopped. His mother had been a police officer in a large, busy city. She wore the uniform with pride, even when the job exhausted her. At home, she rarely talked about work, but he could see it in her eyes. She came back tired, sometimes angry, sometimes silent. Still, she kept going. She believed in the idea of protecting people, even if the world did not always make that easy. Because of her, people expected him to follow the same path. Teachers mentioned it. Friends joked about it. Family members said it like it was already decided. And after a while, he started to believe them. It felt inevitable, like gravity. So he joined the academy, even though part of him hated the thought. He told himself it was only practical. He was not good at lying, and he was not good at debating. He once considered politics, but arguments made him nervous, especially when someone used dishonest logic. He could not stand it. He thought about being a lawyer, but that felt like another version of the same problem. Too many words, too many tricks, too many people trying to win instead of trying to be right. Police work, at least in theory, sounded more direct. You saw a problem, you solved it. But theory and reality were not the same thing. During his last year at the academy, his mother became seriously ill. Cervical cancer, the doctors said. At first, he thought she would recover. People always say she's strong in those moments, as if strength can fight sickness. But the truth came quickly and cruelly. Her condition worsened. Treatments failed. Soon she was gone. After the funeral, everything felt unreal. The world kept moving, but his mind stayed stuck. He went through training like a machine, finishing what he started because he did not know what else to do. When he finally graduated and was assigned to start working on the streets, he carried a heavy feeling inside him. It was not only grief, it was also guilt. Sometimes when he put on the uniform, it felt like he was wearing his mother's boots. Not just copying her job, but replacing her. Like the world had removed her and placed him in the empty space. That thought made him sick, but it also made him try harder. If he was going to stand where she once stood, he wanted to do it right. His handler, a senior officer assigned to guide him, seemed to understand what he was going through. She gave him space, avoided pushing him too hard, and didn't treat him like a problem that needed to be fixed. He appreciated that kindness. At the time, he believed it was support. Later, he would understand it was also something else. There was one area of the city his handler told him to avoid. She didn't explain much, only that calls from that neighborhood were not worth it. At first, he thought it was an unofficial rule, the kind that doesn't appear in textbooks. Maybe the area was dangerous. Maybe it was full of violent gangs. Maybe officers were supposed to wait for backup. But the pattern became obvious. Calls came in and they ignored them. Sometimes they drove near the area and turned back. Sometimes they responded to a dispatcher and then never arrived. The excuses were always quick. Too busy, no units available, false alarm. He told himself there must be a reason. He tried to believe the system was doing something he did not yet understand. He was wrong. The truth was uglier than he expected. His handler and several other officers were involved in illegal business. Money, deals, protection for criminals, and quiet agreements made in shadow. Ignoring calls allowed those activities to grow. It protected the people paying them. And in return, the officers got a cut. He had never felt so cold. This was not what his mother believed in. This was not what he had trained for. And he had been standing beside it without realizing. When the situation finally came to light, the police union covered much of it. It was not the dramatic public scandal he expected. There were no big arrests, no loud press conference. It was handled quietly, like a stain being wiped away before anyone saw. 3 officers quit and moved into private security work. They found a way to keep making money without the badge. For them it was easy. They didn't care about the symbol. They cared about the benefit. But he was not like them. He still felt that heavy idea in his chest, his mother's boots. He had stepped into a job she once did with honor. He couldn't throw it away like it meant nothing. He didn't want to become the kind of person who used power for profit. So he tried to fight it the proper way. He spoke up. He pleaded his case. He tried to argue for fairness, for accountability, for doing things the right way. He did not do well. He was not built for debates, and he could feel that weakness in the room. He could sense people listening politely while already deciding he was inconvenient. He watched the chief glance down at paperwork instead of meeting his eyes. He noticed an advisor leaning close to whisper something into the chief's ear. Then the chief looked up with a strange expression, concern mixed with calculation. Obviously, the chief said, "We can't keep you here." The words landed like a punch. Not because he was surprised, but because part of him had hoped for something better. Some sign that honesty mattered. Some promise that the system would reward the person who refused corruption. Instead, he was being removed. But the chief continued. "If you're really up for it," the chief said, "we've got something in mind. A place where you can start over." The chief did not say it directly, but the meaning was clear. This was not a reward. This was not a normal transfer. This was a place they sent people who didn't fit, people who needed to disappear quietly. The chief's tone changed, becoming serious. "But you have to really be up for it," he said. "Once you go, you don't get to complain." He should have asked more questions. He should have demanded details. He should have walked away. But something stubborn inside him rose up. The same stubbornness that had pushed him through grief, through training, through the idea that he could still do something good. He nodded. "Whatever it takes," he said. "I'll do my job." And that was how he ended up in a rural town in Minnesota called Tomskog. A place so small you could miss it if you didn't know where to exit the highway. A place with no proper signs. A place where people moved in and often never left. Like a social black hole. Like deleting yourself from the world and walking into the woods. When he arrived on a foggy November morning, the police station looked tired and forgotten. There was room for only 2 squad cars out front, and both were already gone. A cheap plastic sign hung crookedly outside, Tomskog PD. Next to it was the town seal, a blue sunflower on a golden shield. He had never seen that symbol before. But as he stepped into town, he saw it everywhere. On signs, on buildings, on small decorations in windows. The blue sunflower watched him like a quiet warning. Inside the station, a few people looked up from their desks. Most of them went back to work immediately like he was nothing new. Only one man stood up slowly, like his body was built from heavy stone. The sheriff. He was in his early 50s, round and thick like a human meatball, with a large handlebar mustache that made him look like a wrestler from an old cartoon. Only without the smile. He walked toward the new officer and held out a big hand. "Mason Brooks," he said. "My condolences." The young officer blinked, confused. "Excuse me?" "My condolences," Mason repeated, as if it was the normal way to greet a new employee. "I imagine you ain't too excited to be here." The young officer forced a polite smile. "No, sir. It's fine. Happy to be of service." Mason laughed loudly, like he had heard a joke. "You expletive me," he said. "Well, ain't you the belle of the ball?" And as Mason led him deeper into the station, showing him the armory, the evidence room, the holding cells, and finally a desk that looked like it still belonged to someone else, the young officer began to understand something important. Tom's Cog was not a place where things were normal. It was a place where people came and went. And maybe if he wasn't careful, he would disappear too. The first thing he noticed about Tom's Cog Police Department was how quiet it was. Not peaceful quiet, but an empty kind of silence, the kind that felt unfinished. Phones rang only now and then. Radios crackled without urgency. People worked slowly, as if time moved differently inside the building. No one seemed in a hurry and no one seemed worried about it. Sheriff Mason gave him a short tour on his first morning. The armory was small but well stocked. The holding cells were clean, though they looked like they were rarely used. The evidence locker smelled faintly of old paper and dust. When Mason finally stopped at a desk near the back, he pointed at it with a thick finger. "That's yours?" he said. The desk looked used. An unwashed coffee cup sat near the edge, and a crumpled candy wrapper was shoved into one of the drawers. The nameplate was blank. "Don't mind that," Mason said casually. "People come and go." That sentence stayed with him. He hadn't expected much turnover in a small rural town. Usually, people stayed in places like this for decades. But Mason said it like it was normal. Like officers leaving was part of the routine. Before he could ask more, Mason led him toward the break area, where a vending machine stood against the wall. A man was hitting it hard with his fist. The man was in his late 30s, balding and wearing round pink sunglasses indoors. The glasses reminded him of old photos of John Lennon. The man kicked the machine again and a soda dropped out. "See," the man said proudly. "You just gotta hit it right." Mason chuckled. "Business as usual." "This," Mason said, gesturing at the man, "is Nick Aiken, your partner. And for now, your handler." Nick turned his head slowly. "Didn't I just have a partner?" he asked. Mason shook his head. "Desk's empty. Name's gone. Time for a newbie." Nick squinted through his pink lenses and then laughed. "Either I haven't had my morning drink or I'm seeing double." He shook the rookie's hand without much interest, more focused on his free soda. "He'll show you the ropes," Mason said. "Man's an idiot, but he lives long. Idiots do well around here." Nick nodded. He ain't joking. That was how his first partnership began. They didn't even use a squad car. All of them were already out on patrol, Mason explained, cleaning up after Patrick. He didn't explain who Patrick was. Instead, Nick led him outside to an old white Volvo with rust stains on the side. It looked more like a retired family car than a police vehicle. As soon as they got in, Nick lit a cigarette. "You can smoke?" the rookie asked. Nick shrugged. "You'll learn what rules matter." They drove through town at an easy pace. Tom's Cog had one main road that cut through everything. There was a gas station, a high school, a few shops, and a strange flower store that only sold blue sunflowers. Houses were stacked along a slope on one side, and on the other side was Frog Lake, wide and dark. The town felt calm, almost friendly, but something about it felt off. Like a smile that lasted too long. They stopped outside an old pub. Before getting out, Nick turned serious. "We're just talking to a guy," he said. "Don't ask him questions. Don't touch him. And don't get close." "Why?" the rookie asked. "He's contagious," Nick replied. That didn't help. Inside the pub, there were only two people. The owner watched a television that showed mostly static. The other man sat at a table wearing sunglasses and a trucker cap. Nick stiffened when he saw him. "Digman," Nick said. "Dragged your sorry ass back to town?" The man smiled calmly. "Just visiting family." Nick didn't like that answer, but he let it go. Outside, he called it in over the radio. Digman's in town, he said. Keep a tail on him. That was the rookie's first real assignment, spying on a civilian without a clear reason. While they watched, Nick explained things in pieces. He talked about Tom's cog like it was a living thing. Dangerous but predictable if you knew how it moved. Then he said something that changed everything. We don't sign reports, Nick said. The rookie laughed, thinking it was a joke. Of course you do. No, Nick replied. We don't. Nick explained it plainly. If someone died in an alley with their throat cut, they called it an accident. If someone vanished, they wrote it off. No investigations. No paperwork that mattered. Why? The rookie asked. Nick looked tired. Because if we don't, people die. Tom's cog had the highest murder rate in the country. Most of the dead were outsiders. People who didn't know the rules. People who asked too many questions. If the state shows up, Nick said, they won't understand. They'll push. And whatever lives here will push back. The rookie didn't believe him. It sounded like excuses, like fear dressed up as responsibility. But Nick wasn't joking. Over the next days, the rookie saw how deep it went. Squad cars carried BB guns for shooting frogs. They burned the same diary every week because it kept returning. They removed fake road signs meant to trap travelers. They took a woman to the hospital after she ate a bucket of dirt. Every task felt ridiculous until it didn't. Nothing here was random. Weeks passed and the rookie felt himself changing. He filled out reports that meant nothing. He lied without writing lies down. He stopped asking questions because answers were never simple. Nick noticed. Instead of mocking him, Nick tried to help. He showed him the town. Introduced him to people. Explained just enough to keep him alive. The rookie bought a small house at the edge of town. It was cheap, too cheap. That should have been a warning. He didn't feel like a police officer anymore. He felt like a janitor, cleaning messes so no one would notice the building was falling apart. Then on New Year's Eve the direct line rang. No one had ever heard it ring before. Nick answered and went pale. We got a situation, he said. Babin Building. That was the first time the sirens turned on. That was the night the rookie learned what Tom's cog was really protecting itself from. And once you saw that, there was no going back. John Digman became a familiar name long before the rookie truly understood why. At first he was just a face. A man in his 40s with long dark hair, streaks of silver near his ears, and sunglasses worn indoors. He moved through Tom's cog like someone passing through a dream, calm and unbothered. He smiled easily. He spoke politely. And yet, every time his name came up on the radio, Nick's mood changed. Everyone's got a history with Digman, Nick said one afternoon as they sat in the Volvo, watching him from across the street. And it's never a good one. The rookie asked what kind of history that was. Nick shook his head. Doesn't matter. What matters is that when he shows up, things follow. That answer made no sense, but nothing in Tom's cog did. For several days they followed Digman around town. He met a young man in his 20s, quiet, nervous, always looking over his shoulder. They ate cheap food, talked for hours, and walked through town like relatives catching up after a long time apart. Nothing illegal. Nothing threatening. And yet, every officer who saw Digman treated him like a lit match in a dry forest. The rookie couldn't understand it. Digman didn't carry weapons. He didn't shout. He didn't break laws. He didn't even stay long in one place. Most of the time he kept to himself. But Tom's cog responded to him like a warning siren. While Digman stayed in town, strange calls increased. Nothing dramatic at first. Small things, half reports, odd behaviors. A man stood in the road at night, whispering to passing cars. A dog refused to enter its own house. Someone reported hearing laughter coming from Frog Lake at dawn. Nick took these things seriously. The rookie did not, at least not at first. Instead, he focused on the daily routines of the town, hoping to find something normal to hold on to. He learned about the BB guns and the squad cars. They were for shooting frogs, Nick said, to keep people from getting the worst headache of their lives. Nick did not explain further, and the rookie stopped asking. They burned the diary of an EMT named Raske once a week in the closed public library. The diary always came back, no matter how many times it was destroyed. The rookie watched the pages curl and blacken in the fire, filled with notes he was not allowed to read. They took down fake stop signs placed along roads leading out of town. Nick said they were meant to slow people down long enough for something else to notice them. The rookie laughed nervously at first. Then he stopped laughing. None of these jobs felt like police work. They felt more like rituals. Preventive actions meant to stop things before they began. Not crimes, events. Slowly Tom's cog wore him down. He stopped expecting logic. He stopped expecting fairness. He filled out reports that said nothing and meant less. He learned which calls to answer and which ones to ignore without being told. Nick saw the change. One evening after a long shift, Nick invited him for coffee. It was Nick's awkward way of showing concern. "You're adjusting," Nick said. "That's good." "I don't know if I like what I'm adjusting to," the rookie replied. Nick nodded. "Nobody does. But this place doesn't care what you like." The rookie moved into his new house during this time. It was small, quiet, and far enough from town that he could pretend he was alone. The price was absurdly low. 5 rooms for less than a city apartment. He told himself it was because no one wanted to live that far out. Deep down, he suspected the truth was worse. Despite everything, Nick tried to help him settle in. He introduced him to locals, showed him which stores were safe, which roads to avoid at night, and which names to remember. Nick played the role of a careless idiot, but the rookie started to see through it. Nick was careful, constantly watching, constantly listening, and always worried about Digman. The rookie finally met Digman up close again at a corner pub. The man looked relaxed, smiling as if nothing in the world could bother him. "I'm just meeting family," Digman said again. That word stuck with the rookie. Family. He later learned about the young man Digman met with. His name was Peter, though some people called him Perry. He lived in a small apartment and rarely left it. He didn't cause trouble. He didn't speak much. Nick watched him with open dislike. "He's part of it," Nick said one night. "Part of what?" the rookie asked. Nick didn't answer. As the days passed, the rookie felt something building, like pressure under the surface of the town. Calls came in more often. People acted stranger. The air itself felt tense, heavy. Nick called it the lead up. The rookie didn't like that phrase. Then came New Year's Eve. The station was half asleep. Nick was drinking. The others played games and argued in the break room. The rookie almost missed the phone when it rang. The direct line. A woman named Miss Babin spoke calmly, like she was reporting a broken elevator. Nick took the phone and went pale. That was the moment everything changed. As they drove toward the Babin apartment building, sirens screaming for the first time since the rookie arrived in Tom's cog, Nick checked his gun over and over. "This is Digman," he muttered. "I don't know how, but it's him." The rookie looked out at the dark streets, at the fireworks exploding in the distance, at the town pretending to celebrate. He didn't know how Digman was connected. He didn't know what a year walk was. But he knew one thing with absolute certainty. Whatever John Digman brought with him to Tom's cog, it was no longer waiting. It had already arrived. The Babin apartment building stood at the edge of town, close enough to the main road to be familiar, but far enough away to feel forgotten. Several cars were parked outside when Nick pulled up, their windows fogged from the cold night air. Fireworks echoed in the distance as the new year arrived, but the sound felt wrong here, like laughter at a funeral. The moment the car stopped, Nick was already out the door. "This is serious," he said, his voice tight. Stay close, but do exactly what I say. The rookie nodded, his heart beating fast. He had never heard Nick sound like this before. Inside the building, the air burned his nose. It smelled sharp and chemical, like cleaning supplies mixed together in a sealed room. Ammonia, maybe chlorine. Something stronger. Nick didn't comment, but his face told the story. You want to protect and serve, right? Nick asked suddenly as they reached the stairs. Yes, the rookie said, confused. Then get to the top floor and start moving people out, Nick said. This place is contaminated. With what? The rookie asked. No idea, Nick replied. That's the problem. The rookie climbed the stairs alone. Each step made the smell stronger, settling into the back of his throat. His eyes watered. He told himself it was just a chemical spill, something manageable. He knocked on the door of the top floor apartment. The door flew open. A woman in her early 60s stared at him with wide black pupils and a grin that felt stretched too far. One of her teeth fell out and hit the floor with a soft clatter. Before he could speak, she lunged at him. Her hands were stained blue, glowing faintly under the hallway lights. They smelled like the chemical in the air. She laughed as she grabbed for his face. A little weed, she said. You came for the harvest. He struggled and managed to wrestle her to the ground. She was strong in a strange, uncontrolled way, laughing the entire time. As he handcuffed her, doors opened along the hallway. People stepped out. Men in party hats, blue liquid leaking from their ears and mouths. A couple holding hands, smiling too widely. An older man wandering in stained underwear, twitching like his nerves were exposed. All of them had black pupils. All of them were smiling. Blessed, one of them whispered. We are so blessed. The rookie felt fear crawl up his spine. He was outnumbered. They rushed him. He dove into the woman's apartment and kicked the door shut, locking it just as bodies slammed into it from the other side. Laughter filled the hallway. Come see the harvest, voices called. He backed into the apartment, heart racing, radio pressed to his mouth. Static. Too much noise on the channel. No help. The door began to crack. He ran into the bathroom and locked himself inside just as the front door gave way. The lights were off. He heard a soft dripping sound. When he turned the light on, the smell hit him hard. His eyes burned. An old man lay on the floor, covered in thick blue sludge. It flowed from the shower and sink, pooling around him. His eyes were black. His face twisted into a smile that did not reach his fear. It eats, the man whispered. It'll eat. The door shook as fists slammed against it. The rookie held his gun, hands shaking. He had never fired at a living person before. He tried to think. Warning shots? Aim for the leg? He was trained for logic, not panic. I will shoot, he yelled. They only laughed louder. Then the radio crackled. Nick's voice strained. Hide, Nick shouted. If you smell like them, they won't attack. The rookie looked at the running shower. Blue liquid poured down endlessly. It was insane. But Tom's cog did not follow sane rules. He wrapped himself in the shower curtain and stepped under the stream. The liquid felt warm, heavy, and wrong. It coated him, ran off, soaked into his shoes. The bathroom door burst open. The people stopped. They stared at him, tilting their heads, smiling softly now. He joins the harvest, one whispered. The smell overwhelmed him. His lungs burned. His vision blurred. He could barely stand. He realized too late that the fumes alone might kill him. He lost consciousness. When he woke, hands pulled him away. The apartment was quiet. The attackers were gone, tossed and restrained. Nick crouched beside him, removing his boots. You'll be okay, Nick said quietly. Didn't soak through. The rookie laughed weakly, then cried. Later, sitting in the car, shaking and exhausted, he heard Nick and Sheriff Mason arguing. Digman. A year walk. Words he didn't understand yet. But he understood this much. Tom's cog was not hiding crime. It was hiding horror. And he had just survived his first real harvest. The days after the incident at the Babin apartment building did not return to normal. Instead, Tom's cog felt like a place holding its breath. For the first time since the rookie arrived, the town was busy in a way that could not be ignored. Unmarked vans came and went at all hours. Once, a large bus parked near the edge of town, its windows dark and its engine left running. People he did not recognize walked through the police station wearing heavy coats and strange equipment. Some of them wore full helmets with tinted visors, powered by batteries and wires. They looked more like something from a cheap science fiction movie than law enforcement. Nick called them, the people you call when things are already bad. Sheriff Mason barely spoke to the regular officers during this time. He was constantly on the phone or locked in his office with visitors. When he did give orders, they were short and urgent, often without explanation. The rookie noticed something else too. Everyone was afraid. Not panicking, not running, but watching, listening, waiting. Nick finally explained why. It's a year walk, Nick said one night as they sat in the Volvo parked near Frog Lake. The water was frozen over, smooth and dark under the moonlight. What? The rookie asked. A year walk, Nick repeated. It's when someone does something stupid, intentional, and personal enough that the town notices. That doesn't explain anything. Nick sighed. It's like holding up a sign that says, "Come eat me." Weird things notice. Old things. Things that don't usually wake up. The rookie thought about Digman. About his calm smile. About the way everyone reacted to him. Digman caused this, he said. Yeah, Nick replied. Or he started it. Nick explained that a year walk was not a single event. It was a process. Someone crossed a line, sometimes knowingly, sometimes not, and the world responded over time. Strange events stacked up. Small at first, then bigger, then dangerous. It lasts about a year, Nick said. If we're lucky. The rookie didn't like the word lucky being used so casually. During the weeks that followed, Nick and the rookie became messengers, guards, and janitors all at once. They were sent everywhere. One day they were ordered to stand in a field of blue sunflowers with shotguns, instructed to shoot anything that moved. Anything? The rookie asked. Nick nodded. Anything. Nothing happened that day, but the rookie's hands shook the entire time. Another day they were sent to multiple grocery stores to buy specific items. No explanations given. They handed the bags to a woman wearing a full hazmat suit in the middle of a snowy parking lot. She inspected everything carefully, checking labels and expiration dates, then nodded without a word and left. They were sent to Frog Lake repeatedly. Sometimes to count frogs. Sometimes to make sure no one was swimming under the ice. Nick said people did strange things in that lake, especially during a year walk. It's got history, Nick said. The lake remembers things. The rookie didn't ask what that meant. At night he barely slept. Every sound outside his house felt louder. Every shadow felt deeper. He started smoking again, standing by the window and watching the dark edges of his yard. Despite the fear, Nick stayed calm. Not relaxed but steady. The rookie began to understand that Nick wasn't careless. He was experienced. One afternoon, while buying hot dogs at the gas station after a long shift, the rookie finally snapped. This isn't police work, he said. We're not protecting people. We're guessing. We're reacting. Nick leaned against the counter, chewing slowly. You're wrong, he said. We are protecting people. Just not the way you're used to. By lying? The rookie asked. By surviving? Nick replied. Nick explained that Tom's Cog didn't have backups. No nearby fire department. No real animal control. No specialists on call. Something went wrong, the people in town handled it, or they died. And when outsiders show up, Nick said, they don't know the rules. They don't know when to leave things alone. The rookie thought about the people at the Babin building. About their smiles. Their laughter. He stopped arguing. Calls came in at all hours. Some were strange, some were terrifying, and some made no sense at all. Once, the rookie was woken at 2:30 in the morning and told to check whether an elderly woman had something in her ear. If she didn't, he was to give her migraine medication. That's it? He asked. That's it, Nick said. In Tom's Cog, every call was a coin flip between nothing and a nightmare. Then came the washing machine. The call sounded normal enough. Someone had dumped trash by the side of the road. Nick and the rookie were sent to check it out. They found a washing machine sitting alone in the snow. It looked old but intact. The only strange thing about it was the color. It was completely black. Nick frowned. I don't like this. They opened it. Inside was a thick black liquid, bubbling slightly even in the cold. It smelled faintly salty. They called Sheriff Mason. Don't burn it, Mason said. Don't crush it. Drive it out of town. Drop it off a cliff. No questions. They followed a dirt road past Lake Adabat and up to an old quarry. The place looked like a forgotten hangout spot for teenagers. Beer cans. Burn marks. Footprints in the snow. Together they pushed the washing machine off the edge. It bounced down the rock face and disappeared into the water below. Black liquid spread across the surface before slowly sinking. Nick smiled tightly. Solved. That night, the rookie didn't think much about it. He would soon regret that. The year walk was not finished. It was only getting started. For a few days after dumping the black washing machine into the quarry, life in Tom's Cog almost felt normal. Almost. The sheriff seemed satisfied. Nick relaxed a little. Calls slowed down and no new emergencies appeared on the radio. The rookie allowed himself to believe that whatever problem the washing machine represented had been handled. In Tom's Cog, that usually meant good enough. He was wrong. It started small. One evening after a long shift, he came home and kicked off his boots by the door. As he did, he noticed a strange smell. Salty. Damp. Not strong but noticeable. At first he thought it was just sweat or dirty clothes. He didn't think much of it and went on with his night. The next day was busy. They were called to assist at the Babin apartment building again. Some residents were still suffering side effects from the blue chemical. A few had to be held down while doctors gave them medication. Even weeks later, some of them still had faint blue stains on their skin. After that, Nick insisted on checking in on John Digman and his family again. They watched from a distance. Nothing happened. Digman stayed calm. The younger man, Peter, barely left his apartment. Everything looked quiet. Too quiet. That night, when the rookie returned home, the smell was stronger. It was coming from his laundry basket. He frowned and opened it, expecting to find mold or something rotten. Instead, he froze. One of his socks, the one that had gotten splashed by the black liquid from the washing machine, was no longer just stained. The stain had grown. It was now the size of a tennis ball. Black, wet, and moving. It pulsed slowly like it was breathing. The rookie felt his stomach turn cold. He didn't scream. He didn't touch it. He had learned enough in Tom's Cog to know better. Instead, he acted fast. He grabbed the entire basket, took it outside, and poured lighter fluid over it. Then he set it on fire. For a brief moment, he thought he heard a sound, a thin, sharp scream, but he told himself it was just air escaping, fabric burning, his imagination filling in gaps. He stood there until nothing was left but ash. Then, just to be safe, he dug a hole at the edge of his property and buried the remains. He didn't tell anyone. He went back to work the next day like nothing had happened. But at night he couldn't sleep. He found himself standing by the window, smoking again, staring at the spot where he buried the ashes. He imagined something swelling under the dirt, growing, waiting. A few days later, a heavy winter storm hit Tom's cog. Snow mixed with rain fell sideways, hammering against windows and roads. Power flickered. The wind howled like it was alive. Nick and the rookie spent most of the day at the station answering calls and waiting for something worse to happen. That night, the rookie went home early. He played music quietly and cracked a window to smoke. Snow tapped against the glass. The world outside was dark and empty. As he exhaled smoke, something changed. The smoke didn't drift into the night. It stopped, like it had hit a wall. His heart skipped. Slowly he looked up. Something was standing right outside his window. It was tall, at least 9 feet. Completely black. So dark it reflected no light at all. Snow gathered along its edges, outlining a shape that was almost human. Almost. It didn't move. It didn't breathe. It just stood there. The rookie stepped back, his hands shaking. He grabbed his phone and dialed Sheriff Mason. "There's something outside my window," he whispered. "Did you dump the washing machine?" Mason asked. "Yes." Pause. Then the thing moved. A long black hand pressed gently against the glass. Dark liquid dripped down the window frame. "I think it's trying to get in," the rookie said. "Is it all black?" Mason asked. "Yes." The window shattered. The thing forced its way inside, moving awkwardly, smashing furniture without understanding it. It reacted to every sound, every movement, attacking blindly. The rookie hid under his bed, cutting his hands on broken glass, holding his breath as the thing thrashed around his home. It didn't speak. It didn't growl. It was silent and violent at the same time. Thinking fast, he threw his lighter and cigarettes toward the broken window. The sound drew the thing's attention. It crashed back outside. That was his chance. He ran. He barely made it to his car before the thing grabbed him, dragged him through shattered glass, and threw him into the snow. His body felt broken. He couldn't move. The thing loomed over him. Then headlights appeared. A car horn sounded. Sheriff Mason stepped out of his car in slippers and a shirt, calm as if this were an ordinary night. "Hank," Mason said softly. The creature turned toward him. Mason spoke to it gently, like calming a child. He opened his trunk and offered something inside. "Bones." The creature took them and disappeared into the storm. Later, inside the ruined house, Mason explained. Years ago, a high school boy named Hank Byron had been crushed by a washing machine. Something stayed behind. Something that remembered pain and wanted its bones back. The rookie sat in silence. He had survived. But now he understood something terrifying. In Tom's cog, nothing ever truly went away. And sometimes it followed you home. The snow kept falling long after the thing called Hank disappeared into the dark. The rookie sat on Nick's couch, wrapped in a borrowed blanket, staring at his hands. They were scratched, bruised, and still shaking. Every now and then, his fingers twitched as if his body hadn't realized the danger was over yet. Nick moved quietly around the room, making coffee even though neither of them really wanted it. "You're safe here," Nick said gently. "For now." The rookie nodded, but he didn't answer. His house was broken. His phone was destroyed. And something impossible had tried to tear him apart only hours earlier. Safety felt like a word without meaning. The next few days passed slowly. Workers replaced the broken windows at his house. Sheriff Mason checked in once, gruff but sincere. No official report was written. No outside authority was contacted. In Tom's cog, that meant the incident was finished. But inside the rookie's head, nothing was finished. He replayed the night over and over. The black hand. The crushing grip. The way Mason spoke to the creature like he knew it personally. The way the thing had listened. Eventually he asked the question he had been holding back. "Why do you stay?" he asked Nick one night. Nick didn't answer right away. He stared at the dark road outside, watching snow slide past the windshield. "Because someone has to," Nick said finally. Nick explained that Tom's cog wasn't unique. Not really. Places like it existed all over the world. Quiet towns, forgotten corners, spots where reality thinned just enough for old things to push through. Most people never noticed. And when they did, they didn't survive long. "We're not heroes," Nick said. "We're filters." The rookie thought about the corruption he'd seen in the city. The bribes. The lies. The way power was abused for profit. He had believed Tom's cog was punishment. A dumping ground. He was wrong. "This is where the bad cops go," Nick continued. "Not because we're evil, but because we can live with ugly choices." The rookie didn't like that answer, but he couldn't deny it. Sheriff Mason explained the rest when he visited a few days later. He looked older than before, more tired. He sat heavily in a chair and rubbed his mustache. "Tom's cog runs on compromise," Mason said. "If we did things by the book, people would come asking questions. And questions lead to attention. And attention gets people killed," the rookie said. Mason nodded. "You're learning." The rookie asked about Hank. About Digman. About the year walk. Mason didn't explain everything. Some things he said were better left vague. But he told enough. A year walk wasn't just one person causing trouble. It was a chain reaction. One mistake, one act of intent, pulling old memories and unfinished deaths back into motion. Digman had started it, knowingly or not. Hank was only one consequence. "And there will be more," Mason said. "Always are." That was the moment the rookie realized the truth. Tom's cog wasn't a place where problems were solved. It was a place where damage was controlled. Nick drove him home after that. The road stretched ahead like a tunnel of darkness, snow swirling in the headlights. The rookie watched Nick's pink sunglasses rattle on the dashboard. "You can still leave," Nick said quietly. "No one would stop you." The rookie thought about it. He thought about going back to the city, about a normal job, about sleeping through the night without fear, about not smelling salt in the air or checking shadows for movement. Then he thought about what would happen if everyone like him left. Who would stand between Tom's cog and the things it hid? "I'll stay," he said. Nick smiled just a little. The months that followed were hard. The year walk continued. Strange calls came in. New rules were written and never recorded. The rookie learned how to listen without reacting, how to lie without enjoying it, and how to act fast when fear froze everyone else. He stopped thinking of himself as a good cop or a bad cop. He was just a necessary one. Sometimes late at night he still stood by the window and smoked, watching the dark edges of the town. He wondered how many things were waiting just beyond the light. How many memories had teeth? But he didn't run. Because Tom's cog wasn't just where the bad cops went. It was where someone had to stay.